lot of time today, so let me just get it going here. Easter, don't know when I'll put it up, but I wanted to film it today. Doing a little sample Sunday with Seaforth's Heather. I got a matching toner splash as well. So I can do the notes from memory. It is lavender, bergamot, geranium, clary sage, oak moss, and coumarin. Bam. Yep. Fougere, for sure. Green, which matches the label. Really nice. Looks there's no little spiciness on there because you got the whole oak moss. They intentionally tuned down the oak moss, as I recall. But yeah, the clary sage and coumarin are gonna put a little spicy flavor in there along with the lavender. I haven't used any of the splash. I sprayed some into the sink just to prime it, and definitely the lavender is the top note as it's red on there. You can smell that soap is pretty well blended, but the base is great. You can just feel the thickness when you scoop it. It just scoops different than most other soaps. It's just got a weight, a thickness about it, so which is reflected in the lather, I feel like. Got my new, finally succumbed and got a Captain's Choice bowl. It's only the second time I've used it. First time I did a tub lather. This time I just filled that middle with this stuff. I like it. Gonna kind of relegate my timeless bowl to travel. I'm using a borrowed razor today. I've got a lot of borrowed razors on hand, but I want to give this one a shot. This is borrowed from Jonathan. This is the Aylesworth Kopperkant brass razor. Made for them by Yates. You can definitely see some Yates DNA in the head there. It has like no blade gap, so definitely blade neutral. I'll put the specs up later. And then really what it reminds me of initially, I told the guys, is if you crossed the Yates Murica razor, especially in the handle here, that hourglass shape, in the length with the Overlander. So we'll see how it goes. Got a first use Schick DE blade in there. So, oh yeah, there's like no blade feel. Lean into the cap, it feels like. It's doing stuff, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was excited to try this razor. I was the one who was like, Jonathan, let's try it. He never really talks about it. And I just think initial thoughts are it's gonna be too gentle, too mild for my liking. And it's shaving, but you can hear it. It's just not. I don't even know what I would compare it to. I almost snagged. I mean, it's doing it, but I wouldn't say that it's a super efficient razor by any means. I'm gonna be tempted to overshave with it. I almost snagged an Overlander last month, speaking of brass razors, but decided to hit all my hobbies. Since I just got an ambassador, I barely did anything right there. I'd heard a rumor or read it on Instagram or something that they were going to put out a more aggressive plate for this. The weight is astounding. It's actually a lot heavier than I expected it to be. Yeah, I'm I don't know about 2 or 3 days growth, but the second I took that Kopperkant into the denser areas of my growth, it was a huge no. Like a complete waste. Yeah, if you have light beard growth and you like an insanely mild razor that's brass, Kopperkant. I have neither of those things. So here we are, trying to salvage a shave. With all this going on, the lather's starting to dry out a bit, so I'm gonna just go finish shaving and I'll come back when it's time to use the post shave there. Well, sometimes things don't go as planned. So I don't know if that was just too much growth. Then I was rushing because I felt like I was taking too long and my wife's upstairs and my kids and it's Easter and I don't want to be in here the whole time. So it wasn't the best shave situation to begin with. So I'm gonna give this a state of execution. I'm gonna try this off camera, probably tomorrow, to see if I can get it to work. You may have noticed my hair is back to how it used to be a little bit. So it's not quite long enough to do what I want it to do yet, and I'm waiting a few weeks to let it grow out. I'm gonna fix it one more time when I get off camera, but I don't really care because I'm just sick of how I was doing it. So I'll put some oil base in today, some nice amber and oak moss, midnight, social club from the classics, of course. So yeah, state of execution. I'll try it again off camera. If I get it to work, I'll splice a little video in here and tell you. So JD's an everyday shaver. I'm not always an everyday shaver. I barely got to shave at all this week with stuff going on. Wife's been sick most of the week. Kids have had appointments. I've had to run around all over the place. So anyways, so here's the Heather splash though. So stick around when I say this is over, just to see if there's anything else. So this is an aftershave toner. It's a witch hazel base, I believe. I don't know much about the current C4th iteration history. It seems like the only one of their splashes that I've seen that has an alcohol option is Blackwatch, and I think that has something to do with ingredients. I know they have this Chatillion Luxe that does their reimagining of scents. They did this scent, I know, or whatever, who it is. You know me, I'll correct it if I said it wrong or whatever. I don't know if I don't know. They have EDPs, so at some point, it's got to work. I don't know if it's just other skin food ingredients they're putting in there it wasn't working with. Somebody knows. Look in the comments. Someone will say something. Somebody knows exactly what I'm trying to say. But it being a toner, I don't think it's probably going to last all that long in terms of the scent. But it's definitely fresher in the aftershave than it is in the soap. Not that the soap isn't fresh, of course. It's a Fougere. There's just more of that heavy greenness about it in the soap-based scent, whereas this is nice and light. I feel like the geranium and the lavender are really carrying through and keeping everything light. The bergamo's in there probably too, but it's nice and clean. It's good, but very different. Good thing you can get a sample of each from the razor company if you want to try them. So there you go. All right, well, like I said, stick around. I'll let you know if it's gonna be anything there. But... Awkward transition. Yep. So, wish you weren't so awkward, bud. So this is several days later. Kopperkant, Nasset, boom, and we're going for it. I'm using Crossroads from First Line Shaving, and we're just gonna have at it here. I already did the with the grain. This is the against the grain, of course. I mean, it's doing something, I don't know. I'm gonna talk more in depth after this segment, so stay with me here about how I feel about this razor and everything. But this is what we got going on right now, and hang in there, okay? Okay, well, we're back. So I was kind of thinking about doing some voiceover stuff with some of the shots that I did, because my kid was blasting The Wind in the Willows in the background, and there's no way that YouTube was going to allow that. But, so I don't know. And I also kind of did an audible shave from the first one. I don't know how much of that I'm actually going to include in this. So this will be kind of a messy video, so bear with me. I'll try to make it pretty in editing. So, first of all, this is a cool looking razor. And before I get too excited about it, for me, it for sure is a Kopperkant. It can't give me a good shave. I used a second use Nasset, which normally I have trouble with Nasset sometimes. I have some historical issues with cutting myself, but nothing today. And honestly, the resulted shave, I mean, I did my normal stuff. I did, with the grain, against the grain in this area, across the grain, under here, and along the jawline and everything. This part is just not smooth, So I was second use Nasset. So before I get too far off the path here, I want to thank Jacob Heron, one of our longtime viewers, for messaging our Instagram to notify us that the plus plate for the Kopperkant is coming out this Friday. So I'm posting this probably the following Wednesday. I like to post these razor reviews on Wednesday. Razor review Wednesday. So it probably already came out. I don't know much about it other than that I got the numbers from Aylesworth when I commented on Instagram. I mean, I wish that I'd have waited and JD bought it and then we did a pass around and compared the plates. That'd have been more interesting maybe. But the original plate on this is not for me, not for your boy. Not a fan. So I think it's a cool razor, for sure. And you can see the Yates DNA in there and everything. So what I think one of the biggest issues with it is, so the blade gap plays a huge part in the issues. It's so minuscule, and then it has these lather slots, obviously, like we're used to seeing on lots of razors, such as the Rex Ambassador has the dual slots. The remodeled Henson has them chipped out at the ends, obviously, as you can see there, and that has them like pretty much all the way along the bottom. So for some reason, the The blade gap here, I don't know if it's because normally with the Yates built razor, they have some kind of design going here, a pattern that maybe allows more lather off, but... So this thought's coming way later. It's almost as though it's so shallow in there that the lather actually won't go through the channels anymore. So there's so little room that it starts going back the other way, and that affects the efficiency of the shave. You can find the right angle, but you really don't get many swipes before it just stops cutting efficiently at all. I mean, it's barely efficient for me in the first place. So this shave ends up being really spotty because you have to know right where it is, and then you have to rinse it out. And it took a lot of rinsing to get through that shave, more than I wanted. And really though, unless you did that, you were not getting an efficient shave. So for me, and that kind of left it's a buffing razor for me. So for me, on these, trying to do these long passes right here, like, it was hard to say at what point it would fill up and stop working. So they are adjusting the blade gap, obviously. I'll put the numbers up here. I wouldn't remember anyways. And you can see for yourself. That might make a difference, but I just think it's weirdly inefficient for me. I like the heft of it. It makes me curious. The rumors circulating that they might bring back both the winning razor and then the America might be getting a brass run. I mean, I can see why they would be into that after basically making a very similar shaped handle in brass. You just do a little less design work in certain spots and you have the America razor handle in brass, I guess. But yeah, so if you really want a mild razor, and really, like for me, I know it doesn't look it, but my stubble though isn't, doesn't grow super fast. It is rather coarse. I have often related it to shaving barbed wire. So just because it isn't as thick looking as other people's, even on this channel, doesn't mean that it's any easier to cut. So it's kind of like as much as I would like to get away with a milder razor, it doesn't work for me. So if you have very fine stubble, I think this will probably do you okay. I tried, put the razor down, I'm sick of gesturing with it. I tried, I used, the second shave today, I used Crossroads from First Line Shave. And I even, at this second interval when I was doing across the grain, I even tried wetting the lather more, because really that's the most important part. You can lather shave me all you want, but as long as your lather is wet, that's half the name of wet shaving to me. So that was for the guys, not you guys. You guys are nice about it. But it did make a difference. I thought maybe if I give it more glide, nope, didn't make a difference. So I don't know. I tried playing around with the angle a little bit, but really you kind of gotta get it. There's really only one right angle, and it's so specific with this razor model. I feel like you kind of got to lean into the cap a little bit. Obviously, I don't have a blade in it. Like this, obviously, it's not a steep razor like the Ambassador, and you can't get too far into the cap because then there's no notches or anything going on here. So there's like this very distinct angle that you have to achieve, and you can have it, but because it fills up so quickly, then you normally, I don't know about other people, but sometimes I'll even make a little adjustment with a razor when it's starting to fill up a little bit and maybe still get a little bit out of it. Can't do it with that one. The Kopperkant do it. So, I'm a little disappointed. I wanted to really like this razor a lot. I think it's a cool design. I think that its biggest competition is clearly the Carve Overlander, which I love, which when you can find it American prices and it can be done, I ain't gonna talk about it personally until I buy mine at an American price. Sorry, JD's gonna probably ruin that for me here when he finally gets his in, but there's no competition. I mean, I also find the Overlander to be a very gentle razor. There is more blade feel, obviously, and there's a wider blade gap, and I get a better shave with it. Whether it's, I think in my video I said it really shines as a daily shaver, But this one, I mean, granted, I did attempt 3 days growth again, but as you can see, my growth isn't super significant. I think the other shave was like 4 or 5. Just couldn't get to it beforehand. So I don't know if it would be a good everyday shaver. Maybe it shines there, but I just don't see the things that I've pointed out as being issues for me with it changing just because you have less days worth of growth. So, yep. So, maybe if I hear good things about the Plus Plate, I would consider buying one at some point. I do think it's a cool razor, but at this point in time, I still prefer the Overlander significantly. And I even kind of like the design of the Overlander a little bit more as well. But yeah. All right, so officially, we're going to call that a shave of sorts, and we appreciate you stopping by, and we'll catch you next time.